Hi everyone, we are from Group 4 and are going to present about civil servant corruption and cronyism in 1MDB. Malaysia has problem with cronyism and corruption in the government. This means that people in power often give jobs and favours to their friends instead of choosing the most qualified individuals. This creates an environment where improper behaviour is more likely to happen. A big example of this is the 1MDB scandal, where there was a lot of financial wrongdoing. This scandal showed that the government lacks good ways to make sure everything is good and accountable. Because of this, people started to question if they could trust the government to do the right thing. The common definition of corruption involves the exploitation of public office for personal gain. Activities particularly susceptible to corruption include public contracts, public funds, defence contracting, property handling, tax assessment, zoning, legislative processes, law enforcement, and public services. Cronyism involves granting preferential treatment to all friends and associates irrespective of qualification, manifesting in two basic forms. The first one is instrumental cronyism, which is driven by task-oriented and self-interest consideration, and relational cronyism, that based on long-term loyalty, affection, and connections. The 1MDB case presents ethical concerns, including the abuse of power through the misuse of public office for personal gain. Moreover, it highlights issues of insufficient openness and responsibility in government action, reflecting a lack of transparency and accountability. Additionally, the case raises concerns about impartiality and fairness, as there is evidence of unequal treatment in appointments and decision-making processes. Furthermore, a failure to report and address unethical behavior underscores a breach of duty to report wrongdoing. So for the issue summary, the first one is the scandal involves bribery, money laundering and corruption along with the embezzlement of assets from Malaysia's Sovereign Wealth Fund 1MDB. Malaysia governance faces issues of cronyism and corruption in the public sector, rooted in historical political patronage. Appointments based on loyalty rather than merit contribute to a conducive environment for improper behavior. The third one is in 2016, the US Department of Justice declared the One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB scandal as one of the world's largest financial scandals. And lastly, former Prime Minister Najib Razak has been implicated in bribery, corruption and misappropriation. MDB scandal led to the erosion of public trust in the government as instance of the misuse of authority as outlined by the Malaysia Anti-Corruption Commission MACC Act become apparent. The 1MDB scandal was marred by fraudulent transaction, the creation of shell firms and the concealment of critical information. The board of directors of 1MDB failed in their oversight, responsibilities and internal controls, contributing to a severe lack of accountability and transparency. Cronyism in the 1MDB scandal is evident as personal relationship wielded undue influence over decisions, jeopardizing the principle of justice and impartiality. Civil personnel failed to expose financial mismanagement, underscoring the crucial importance of whistleblowing for the greater good. So the 1MDB scandal served as a stark reminder of the imperative of ethical adherence, transparency, and accountability in government, emphasizing the crucial need for a robust ethical framework to prevent severe wrongdoing and safeguard the public interest.
Regarding some obstruction, the first ethical issue is the abuse of power. When a public officer uses his position to decide or act in a way that benefits him and his family, it is considered abuse of power. It involves action or decision that go beyond the scope of their official duty and are driven by personal gain and against law and regulation and ethical standards. For example, bribery and corruption, misuse of public fund, retaliations. Deontology is focused on right or wrong, such as code ethics. So in one IDB case, Najib abused his power by transferring funds from one IDB to his personal bank account. So it is clear that Najib violated code of ethics as a prime minister, and it is forbidden by law, and hence it is unethical according to deontology theory. Further, if new evidence emerges and proves that Najib was behind Kelvin's murder, then it is a form of retaliation against those who challenge or expose his corrupt practice, which is also against law and hence unethical according to deontology theory. According to utilitarianism, ethical action is the one that comes with the greater benefits to most of the people, irrespective of whether it is right or wrong. So the action of Najib of transferring funds from one IDB to his personal bank account is still unethical, since it is only benefit Najib, and it erodes the public trust and can bring a lot of negative impact to the country. So because it is done at the expense of public interest for his personal gain, hence it is against the theory of utilitarianism. The second ethical issue is lack of transparency and accountability. Accountability in the public sector holds government accountable to the public for justifying the use of public resources, while transparency fosters accountability by providing citizens with relevant information about the government activity. So in the case of 180B, there were several circumstances that accountability and transparency were compromised. The use of shell companies to conceal the flow of money hinder transparency and make it difficult to track the exact use of funds. Hence, it is unethical according to deontology, as concealment itself is unethical. So again, such concealment will erode public trust and have a negative impact on the country. Hence, it is unethical according to utilitarianism. So next, ethical action can be determined based on principle. So some senior official in one IDB withheld information from and made false statement to the board and took some decision without the board approval. So it is unethical according to ethics of principle and duty, as the board itself breached in its ethical and professional duty as it failed in oversight role and failed to detect the management practice as a result of weak governance and internal control.
Okay, next I will present about impartiality and fairness. The 1MDB case raises ethical concerns about cronyism, favoritism, and unfair practices. The connection between Najib Razak and Jolo suggests decisions were influenced by personal ties rather than fairness. Embezzlement of funds for personal gain, such as real estate and Hollywood projects, question the proper use of public resources. Cronyism leads to an uneven distribution of opportunities, going against the principle of treating equals equally. The lack of transparency and preferential treatment damage the public trust and fuels perception of injustice and inequality. Okay, this is the 1MDB case. The connection between Najib Razak and Jolo exemplifies cronyism. Jolo, closely associated with the Prime Minister, which is Najib Razak, was involved in the 1MDB financial transactions, suggesting that the decisions were influenced by personal connections. Funds from 1MDB were allegedly misappropriated for personal benefits, including real estate, artwork, and Hollywood production. These actions deviated from ethical practices, raising questions about fairness of public resources, appeared to serve private interests based on personal connections rather than community needs. Okay, human rights ethics. Cronyism and human rights violation. Cronyism in the 1MDB case jeopardized human rights by influencing biased decision-making. Alleged influence of Jolo in decision-making process may infringe on the fair treatment rights of individuals without powerful connections. Arbitrary distribution contradicts human rights. Arbitrary distribution of resources through cronyisms contradicts human rights ethics, which is emphasizing freedom from discrimination, accountability, and openness. Virtue of ethics. Conflicts with virtue ethics. Virtue ethics emphasize the development of good character traits, including impartiality and fairness. Allegations of cronyism in the 1MDB case suggest decisions swayed by personal connections, contradicting virtues like impartiality and fairness. Undermining virtuous principles. The influence of personal connections over fair standards goes against the virtuous principles that virtue ethics promote. Cronyism violates impartiality and fairness principle upheld by virtue ethics. Okay, next I will discuss about the duty to report wrongdoing. The 1MDB scandal involved serious financial wrongdoing, including bond mispricing, bribery, and embezzlement. Individuals aware of these issues, like Tim Lesner, a former of Goldman Sachs executive, failed to report them initially. This lack of disclosure allowed fraudulent activities to continue contributing to an extensive financial mismanagement. The consequences were significant, damaging public trust in financial institutions and government bodies. Whistleblowing was crucial for exposing misconduct and reducing financial losses, emphasizing a commitment to ethical principles and the nation's well-being. Okay, this is the 1MDB case for the duty to report wrongdoing. Tim Lesner, a former of Goldman Sachs executive, played a role in 1MDB's bond issuance. Lesner admitted involvement in bribery, bond mispricing, and other illegal financial operations. Initially, he chose not to disclose these wrongdoings, allowing fraudulent schemes to persist. His non-disclosure contributed to the extensive financial mismanagement, embezzlement, and money laundering in the 1MDB scandal. Okay, whistleblowing is the act of disclosing information that exposes or reveals illegal, unethical, or fraudulent activities within an organization. Individuals who witness wrongdoing within their workplace or an organization and choose to report it to authorities, the media, or other relevant parties are referred to as whistleblowers. For utilitarianism, whistleblowing from a utilitarian perspective. Utilitarianism evaluates actions based on overall impact and aims to maximize happiness or well-being. Whistleblowing in 1MDB case could have minimized harm caused by corruption, which is misuse of funds, money laundering, and financial mismanagement. Preserving economic health aligns with utilitarian objective for maximizing happiness. Building trust through transparency and fairness supports the social compact between people and the government. For ethics of care, whistleblowing and ethics of care. Ethics of care focus on connections, empathy, and considering the needs of others. Whistleblowing is seen as an expression of concern for society, which is aligning with the ethics of care. Whistleblowers demonstrated the commitment to community well-being by exposing corruption. Share accountability for welfare, care for potential corruption victims, and dedication to addressing social consequences. Values connections, relationships, and challenge individualism, emphasizing collective responsibility for the common good.
Hi, good day to Doctor. My name is Nurhidayah Zulkifli, number metric 277629. Now I will present about my part that is conflict of interest. The One Malaysia Development Berhad scandal is a high-profile case involving allegation of massive corruption and misappropriation of funds in Malaysia. Former Malaysia Prime Minister Najib Razak has been implicated in the scandal. In terms of conflict of interest, one aspect of the 1MDB scandal involved allegation of inappropriate financial transaction and investment made by the fund. The scandal involved complex financial transaction where billions of dollars of 1MDB funds were illegally embezzled and diverted for personal use. Some of these funds are said to be used to buy luxury properties, artworks, and fine high-profile parties. So, we go to application of ethical theories for this conflict of interest. First is applying utilitarianism to the 1MDB scandal involved, evaluating action in the 1MDB scandal based on overall consequence. If the illegal misappropriation of funds result in greater harm to the public than benefit to a few individual. Utilitarianism also requires fair consideration of the interest of all individuals affected by an action. If the illegal conflict of interest in 1MDB result in an unfair advantage for select a few at the expense of the wider population. Next, applying virtual ethics to the conflict of interest in the 1MDB scandal involved examining the action of the individual involved in terms of their morals. In the context of 1MDB, individual involved in a conflict of interest by illegally missing funds for personal gain may be criticized from the perspective of virtual ethics for lacking this virtue. In the context of 1MDB, individuals in position of trust and public governance are expected to embody the virtue associated with their roles. Last but not least, social justice. If the illegal conflict of interest in the 1MDB scandal result in the disappropriate enrichment of a select few at the expense of the wider population, it will be seen as a violation of the principle of social justice. In addition, social justice involves the principle of transparency and accountability in governance. So, next I will explain about breach of public trust in case 1MDB. From 2009 to 2014, funds from 1MDB intended for economic development were illegally diverted through complex financial schemes involving shell companies, bribery, and money laundering. Prime Minister Najib Razak and his allies embezzled millions of dollars and used them for their own interests. Prosecutor accused Najib of accepting bribes worth among $10.4 million, an energy firm that was established as subsidiary of 1MDB is the source of the illegal corruption. Najib faced 3 counts of breach of trust and 1 count of abuse of power, all of which carry a maximum prison sentence of 20 years. So the application of ethical theories for this ethic is utilitarianism. The misappropriation of funds from 1MDB has proven to cause significant harms to the majority of Malaysians through stunned development, economic instability, and eroded trust in institutions. This directly contradicts the utilitarian principle of maximize overall happiness. Next is deontology. The action of those involved in the 1MDB scandal, such as siphoning funds and obstructing justice, clearly violates basic deontological principles such as honestly, justice, and respect for human dignity. So, deontology can be critiqued for being too rigid and not taking into account the context of possible united consequence of action. However, in cases such as the 1MDB scandal, where clear moral principles were violated, it provide a strong basis for condemning such action. That's all from me. Thank you.
In conclusion, 1MDB cases brought a big impact to the government, economy, and finance. The importance of transparency and accountability and ethical governance is being underscored by this case in managing public funds and ensuring the well-being of a nation's citizens. One of the reasons of 1MDB case had been raised is because of the lack of commitment to transparency and accountability in the management of public funds. As in 1MDB case, the failure to disclose of financial transactions and decisions, coupled with a lack of accountability for the consequences, compromise the trust stakeholders should have had in the management of public funds, make it become an unethical case that include corruptions. That's all for country lesson that we can learn from the 1MDB cases or issues. And transparency. Integrity and transparency is the important quality in organizing management. It shows honesty, ethics, and how a person can be open and deliver clear communication and action to bear the responsibility. A lesson can be learned is when leader must foster a culture of openness, ensuring that financial transaction and decision-making processes are
are transparent and aligned with ethical standards. Concealing information or engage in covert activities can lead to severe ethical and legal consequences. The second one is accountability and responsibility. In the context of accountability, it means that how the systematic process of recording, analyzing, summarizing, and reporting financial transactions of an organization, which is involved the preparation of financial statement. While responsibility refers to the duty of individuals in managerial positions to act in an ethical and accountable manner, prioritizing the well-being of organization. The lesson of the 1MDB issues is to emphasize accountability and responsibility at all levels of management. Leaders should accountable for their action, and a mechanism must be in place of place individual responsible for any ethical lapses. This include ensuring that there are consequences for those who engage in ethical behavior, regardless of their position within the organizations. The last one is ethical leadership. Ethical leadership refers to a form of leadership that is guided by a strong commitment to ethical values, principles, and moral standards. It is important to prioritize the well-being of their followers and the broader community, such as stakeholders. In the context of 1MDB issues, the failure to prioritize stakeholder interests is one of the lessons to be learned. As mentioned, ethical leadership involves prioritizing the interest stakeholder over personal gain, but in the 1MDB issue, the diversion of funds for luxury purchase and personal use neglected the welfare of the Malaysian people who were meant to benefit from economic development project funded by 1MDB. That's all for 3 lessons that we can learn from the 1MDB cases or issues. Thank you.